Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I have someone in studio that said the day is just starting. And hopefully, if you're the person meeting her, you are not necessarily in need of the services that she offers for most people. Because Lord knows, it's always, when you got to bring them on. So y'all should sort of kind of already know what I'm talking about. But she actually comes from a lens of how you see it as a parent. Her whole brand is based on this. So, parent is mom. Like I said, hopefully you ain't got to come cross paths with them other than in passing itself. And that is an attorney. But thank God there are attorneys that can help us when in need. So this person is the legal mom. So, Attorney Jackson, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, say less. You was like, yo, I got to get on because I got all this stuff to talk. I'm like, hold on. I got you.
You do.
I got you. You can come in Detroit is different. So with that being said, we always start these Detroit is different with the roots and the connection to the city. So how many generations deep is your family to Detroit?
At least 5.
Whoa, that's way back in the day.
That's way back in the day.
Okay.
Now, where my I guess my connection to the generational connection to Detroit is my grandfather, way back in the day, worked at the new train station when it used to be the post office. So don't even get me to trying to identify what year that is, but if somebody wants to do a quick research, when was the train station, the post office, or had the post office in it, that's as far back as my roots go to my grandfather, who is now deceased, but was a realtor. He worked at the postal service. My grandmother, they're both veterans. My grandmother was a nurse, so hey, I was raised right Joy Road in Livernois.
Okay, we're gonna unpack a little bit more of that. But I definitely know the community.
Yes.
So you said grandfather in the post office, and you said your grandmother was a nurse. And when she served, was she a nurse in the military?
She was a nurse in the military. When she came out of the military, she actually came from Battle Creek. And when she came here to the Detroit area to marry my grandfather, that's when she became a stay-at-home mom, 5 wonderful children. All of them went to Northwestern High School, graduate. That's your alumni?
Yes.
Okay.
All day.
My mom, he was a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader. No, I won't go. I jumped ahead. But yeah, all of my family from that area. And several generations later, here I am.
There you go. The big N.O. The big N.O. holding it down for certainly different iterations of things at Northwestern, but even serving. So that's already a different perspective because we hear so much about the service of so many brothers that were in the military. But when you talk about sisters being there as nurses, which there were some, I can only imagine some of the things that your grandma was dealing with being in that position. And at that time, what that was like leveraging. But also in that, I'm only can imagine how tough your grandmother must have been.
I'm so happy you said that because my grandmother was tough, but with a very soft approach. And that is really the connection to really this book and this mission I'm on. As a lawyer, of course, I have to be tough, but as a mom, I balance that with my soft approach. So I see where it came from. It came from my grandmother. She wasn't just a nurse. She was a general and a nurse. So she moved her way up to the ranks, and then she went and took on one of the most challenging but rewarding positions in life, and that is being a stay-at-home mother to 5 wonderful children.
That means your granddad had some game. He was like, what you doing? Grandma walked up like, attention. I ain't doing that. I'm just messing.
It's an interesting dynamic. We'll just say part of it was a sign of the times.
Okay. All right. So with this, the roots before, where's the family when your granddad came up this way? Where was he coming from?
My grandfather is from Mississippi.
The SIP.
Yep. So is my grandmother. But they met in Battle Creek, and then migrated. I don't know what happened between there, but it came to Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And definitely Battle Creek, another one of those cities, like it's like crossways between like a Chicago and a Detroit. That's certainly one of them. I uplift too many times the migration patterns of people from Mississippi, because it's a little bit further west, usually end up in a Chicago, a St. Louis, or a Memphis. So getting this way, that's a different path, but I'm guessing you probably got a bunch of cousins in Chicago, Memphis, and St. Louis, probably.
You name it. Yep, they're there. Just left Chicago with from the Rainbow Push Coalition Convention.
Okay.
And my family, their name and our roots run deep in Chicago, of course, Detroit, Atlanta. Then you go down south, and then you go out west to California. We're everywhere.
Definitely. Would shoot out west. Whereabouts in Mississippi?
Mississippi. They were. Now you're putting the challenge on me.
I got you.
You did on that one.
Okay.
Because I don't want to say where my grandfather was from. My grandma, was it Greenback? Don't challenge my memory right now, but it was one of those little small areas. Did
they go back often? And then, that story sometimes can be different depending upon what was the catalyst to come this way. Did you all go back and forth as children?
So that is one thing that I would say is one of my biggest regrets why my grandfather was alive, is that I never got to go out there with him. He had gone, and it would always be something that came up, whether I was in school or then kids. And I'm like, okay, Grandpa, we're going to do this. And he would go, and then he would bring the stories back, of course, in the family. And a lot of the times we have a family reunion every other year. But unfortunately, our family reunion, it seems like they were always north. I can think north in California, we have not had a family reunion that I have attended that I can recall in the South. And that is one of my biggest regrets why my grandfather was alive. But that does not mean that my family and I are not still connected, and I don't still have the opportunity to go into, fill in some of the gaps that I don't know, because, it's not good to not know where we came from. But for my grandpa's not here, I still will make that mission.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, I guess the roots here, when they move into the city, you mentioned living on Joy Road. Was that the community that they were at? I'm guessing probably not, because you mentioned so much family that went to NO. Where was the family home? Where were they settled?
Yeah, right at Quincy and Gladstone.
Okay. That sounds a lot like that neighborhood for sure.
Okay, I gave you the exact streets. I would give you the address, but somebody lives there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Quincy and Gladstone, that's the only home I know. That's the home all of I have 4 uncles and my mother's, one girl. They grew up in that home. And then when they had children, we grew up in that home, and we still have that home.
Okay.
So I guess they had to get to school somehow.
All right.
That's where they went.
That's not such a different distance from Northwestern, even though I know they'd be like, that was the old Northwestern. I feel you. No, it wasn't that far from there either.
Exactly.
Okay.
I had uncles. They played basketball. My uncle, Alan Hardy, he went to the NBA. They now have the funeral home on the east side, Andrews and Hardy Funeral Home. But yeah, they all went there. My mommy was a cheerleader, like I said. I followed in her cheerleader roots, love it. And even now today, last summer, I went to their class reunion and saw my uncle, which I didn't know went there until last year. But
okay.
But yep, that's my neighborhood.
It's similar to like John Witherspoon, Pops from, I guess people know him more so as Pops from the Wayans brothers, or he was Pops in like almost everything, you know what I'm saying? Even though it was a different character in Boomerang, but it's still kind of Pops. He went to Central some semesters and went to Northwestern some semesters, depending upon where things go. But if your uncle is John Harding, it's so interesting. I was just watching a clip that Marquise Houston, he was like an all-star basketball player. I think people know him kind of from the scene in White Men Can't Jump.
Okay.
Where he's like, yep, I'm coming back, and everybody. So he was like, that was kind of like loosely based on some of the stories of him and just how good of a basketball player he was at one point in time. Dealt with some things, obviously on track now, but definitely the stories the stories of him, Kurt Jones. Like Northwestern had like one hell of a basketball, almost like institution at one point in time.
Yeah.
So now with this, you said that those roots in that family, that neighborhood, now I kind of got to take you back to your child lens, and you've lived there even older. What do you remember as a kid about that community?
The alley.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why that's so significant. One, it was clean. You could play in it, drive, everything. But that's where a lot of the kids in the neighborhood, when we'd meet up and either go to one of the parks, or everybody used to come because that was my grandmother's house. We had the basketball hoop because we're known to have, like I said, it was 4 boys and they was all tall. So everybody would come there to play basketball. And then when us girls came around, then more of the little girls came around. So I just remember the alley being accessible and clean. And that's not to say it isn't now today, but we know that a lot of the alleys in Detroit have not been cleaned and accessible like they have, like they are currently or were back in the day. So that's one of the things I remember. And sitting on the porch. I know that may sound crazy, but I just remember as a child, I said, wherever I live, I'm going to have air conditioning.
Okay.
It was hot.
Yes.
But we didn't think of it like that. It was just like, hey, here comes let's go to the porch. That's where we eat our ice cream. That's where we meet up. That was the meeting place. So, and I'll never forget Grandma's porch, ever. Okay. It's still there today.
All right. I love it. Certainly some of the people from going to Northwestern know, a lot of those houses are big. So the porches themselves, in reality, many of them, and I mean, I'm not exaggerating this. You probably could fit like 20 people on a lot of those porches, like comfortably. You know what I'm saying? Like not like, because they would cover a footprint because there was so many, 2-family flats and sometimes even 4-family flats. But even the houses that weren't there still kind of had like a footprint that large.
Yes. Too. And then the neighbors, the driveway maybe about 7-8 feet wide, so you're right there. So if our porch is full, that porch has their people. So it's just a party. It was just always a good time until Grandma said, "Come in." But other than that,
there you go. There you go. All right. So your parents, what were they into? Did they stay in that same neighborhood? Well, I'm guessing that means your people went to Northwestern, probably more than likely.
My mom, and my dad. But no, they didn't. Once they got married, they moved to Mendota, Oakland Boulevard. I think that's the aviation neighborhood. And that is where my siblings grew up.
Okay.
I said it like that for a reason because I'm the youngest of 4. So they were there from whenever my parents got married, which I should know that date, but I don't think it was sometime in the 60s. Then my sister, brother, and other sister were all born at that house until the 1980.
Okay.
And that's when I came along.
All right. So that means like you were not only the youngest, you were like, it's like a gap in sense. So I can only imagine, usually when that happens, I brought this up on Detroit is Different before. It's like your older siblings kind of become a little bit like uncle, aunt, but also be like, I could never do that when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, they still say it now. What? She still says it now. But yeah, they grew up in like I said, the aviation neighborhood. And then in 1980, I don't know what happened, whether I was born and then we moved out to Southfield or she was pregnant with me, but that's Southfield has been my home. Well, until, of course, I went to college, law school, and all those other things. But, and then I moved back to Detroit. I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but after college, law school, I went to Washington, D.C. That's where I wanted to start my legal career because, I've always had, like, a love for both politics and law, and there is definitely an intersection between the two.
You don't say.
You don't say. Most of our politicians in Washington are lawyers or have a legal background. So, I mean, just naturally, I'm like, that's where I have to go. But that's after I did an internship with the Clinton administration, during the Clinton administration. Amazing time to be in Washington, D.C.
All right.
That's when we had, as far as my Detroit connection, that's when Congresswoman Kilpatrick was in office, Congressman Conyers was in office, and Detroit had a real presence. I won't I won't turn this too political now, but it was just a very powerful time to be in Washington and to watch our local leaders. And that's actually what helped me to redirect my attention, say, you know what? Yes, I can stay here in Washington, but I need to go back home. I wanted to come back home at some point, even with, let me tell you, I was a positive advocate at that time for Detroit. There was so much negative news coming out of the city during that time that I always felt myself being just that advocate for my city. Like, you know, we're coming back. This is going to happen. Fighting, defending, whatever was going on. But I did. I came back after about 7 years in Washington, D.C. to say, you know, I want to be here. I want to be a part of the new renaissance that was going to take place, because that's a part of Detroit spirit. Like, we may be down, but we're never out. And so that was kind of what brought me back. Oh yeah, and I had a baby. So
there you go. So we
all my family was
so
here.
you should know we about to unpack so much of that.
My family was here. So.
But I like that you provided that, because it's already
problem.
questions that come in mind from that. So first we start high school. So if you're in Southfield, did you go to Southfield High or Lathrop?
I went to Southfield High.
Okay. All right. What was that like for you at that time?
I loved Southfield High. I was a pom-pom girl. Okay. I was a cheerleader before that, then a pom-pom girl.
Okay, all right. Can you explain the difference? Because novices such as myself just be like, they fine, you know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you.
The majorettes.
So,
you don't know the difference between these people.
They chant. They talk.
Okay.
Let's go. Southfield High, right?
Yes.
Pom-pom girls, we dance.
Okay.
We dance during halftime, sidelines.
So the majorette and the pom-pom girl, what's the difference
there?
Okay,
another great question. Majorettes dance with the band. Pom-pom girls are usually on the sideline, and we dance to whatever, the music is at that time. But majorettes, they're with the band, exclusively dance to the band. Yeah.
I never knew this.
Yeah.
And see, I'm sure somebody else learned this difference as well. You know what I'm saying? So now next time, if you watch it and Bring It On, you'll be like, okay, I got more of the context of this.
Bring It On was definitely cheer. And competitive cheer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So was that one of those things where, because clearly, obviously, sports and athletics is in your family, and cheering and obviously dancing, those fit right in the mix of that too. But did you ever pick up a sport, or was it just like, nah, this is kind of where I want to be?
So I have to challenge what you said. So you're suggesting that cheerleading is
no,
not
I said it
sport.
Is. It is.
Oh, okay.
I said it's definitely a sport.
You mean an
athletics of it?
sport.
Yeah, the athletics. Yes, an additional sport.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. No, because cheerleading is a sport. No, that's it. I was kicking, jumping, flipping. I can do it all.
Okay.
I challenge a football player to see if he can do it. He can't, but I can run like a football player.
I definitely don't think that many will be doing backflips or getting tossed in the air or any of that stuff or catching people and all of that. I definitely know it's more like the competitiveness of it, because I still imagine it's like gymnastics, in the sense of like somebody will have to judge, was this better or was this not better?
Yeah, gymnastics with rhythm.
Okay, all right.
Even though now they're dancing to real music. So, no, but cheerleading is a sport, and that was my thing. In addition to, when I was in the 10th grade, this was very unique. I asked my counselor, I said, I want to know what the legal field is like. And she got me a summer internship at a law firm in Southfield. So I started in this legal career way back in the 10th grade. Yes, cheering, going to school, but right after work, I was going to a law firm because I just wanted to see what the culture is like. Is this something I can do? And I remember that early in my life, knowing what I wanted to do and being really focused on it.
Because that was going to be my next question. Okay. What was it that stood out about law and you wanting to be a lawyer?
Well, it's nothing too profound, but I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
And my mom used to preach to us every day. You're going to school. You're going to do something. You got to, or you're not going to survive financially or in this world. So my sister chose to be a doctor.
Okay.
My brother said.
What type of doctor?
She wanted to be an OBGYN.
Okay. We need those, especially Black women.
Yes.
For sure.
Brother engineer, mechanical engineer. My other sister, mechanical engineer. And I said, well, I don't want to be anything like them. And so I chose lawyer, and this was at age 8. And my mother still has the book that I wrote in the 3rd grade that says, I want to be a lawyer. And I spelled it wrong. So, but I knew what I knew what I meant.
Exactly. I feel it. I feel that.
Yeah, so since I planted that seed when I was 8, I never turned away. I do not have any other attorneys in my family, especially not at that time. But my mom she's that type of person. If she's in a grocery store line and she just so happens to hear somebody behind her say that they're a lawyer, my mother connected with her, got her phone number, had her take me out to lunch. Wow. I'll never forget this attorney. Now she's actually a judge, Bridget officer in Highland Park.
Okay.
And that's what she just kept doing, connecting me with people that she learned about and say, hey, my daughter wants to be a lawyer. And, you know, that may not sound safe nowadays, but she would just like take her out to lunch or do this but it paid off because it really did give me an early insight into the career, helped me to focus my studies when I went to college. And I never looked back.
Undergrad, where you go?
Michigan State.
Okay. State. Green and white.
Go
all right.
Green.
So when you... Obviously, a lot of times people say, like, you know, when you're going to be an attorney, there's no necessary field of where you should study. What was your major for your bachelor's?
Political science, okay. Constitution, democracy, international relations.
Okay, so then on to law school. Where you go?
Detroit College of Law, but it's when it moved up to Michigan State. So I was in the last class that graduated under Detroit College of Law - Michigan State Law School. Now it is exclusively a Michigan State Law School. So I was in Lansing my entire college career.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was, we definitely had some discussions about East Lansing and Lansing itself here on Detroit is Different. What was that experience like for you? I'm guessing... and then also, like, what era are we talking? Are we talking like late 90s, mid 90s? What's the feel?
1998, graduated from high school.
Okay.
2002, graduated from undergrad.
Okay.
2005, graduated from law school.
So you're there as Mateen Cleaves and then win the championship.
Yes.
What was the feel like then?
So that was exciting, and I'll tell you why. I went through a program called James Madison, and it's only, at that time, it's a small building that they put us in, all political science students, and I think it was only about 100 students, but that was the same building where the football team lived, worked, played, ate, everything. So I kind of always looked at it, they put the nerds with the football players. But it was so much fun at the same time. So
now running concurrent, I think a lot of people kind of lose this. That's especially watching so much football. But Nick Saban's at Michigan State in this time for a lot of people. But more so than Nick Saban, I think one of the greatest athletes I think I've ever seen in my life is there during that time. And that's Charles Rogers when he was a wide receiver for Michigan State. And I saw him in high school because I had a cousin that was really good in track. And I don't think I've ever seen an athlete as great as Charles Rogers was, but definitely at State, he kept that up. Definitely ran into some challenges going professionally, just based on like how things were then in the NFL versus how things are now in the NFL. You know, he's certainly one of those players that I wish could have been around more so for today's NFL. You know, but yeah. So I'm imagining, you know, y'all in there with Charles Rogers and them just. Was an experience.
Campus was an experience. That Lansing period. Sometimes I do say, wish I could have did things differently in terms of going to an HBCU. I have a daughter now that's at an HBCU, and yeah, I'm not afraid to admit I live vicariously through her. But I love the experience for her. Of course, I did go visit like Howard when I was in college, but it's just not the same feel.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, even though Lord knows the predominantly white institutions certainly are predominantly white, but it's waves of like even the alumni chapter of Michigan State, even at Michigan State for homecoming, depending upon who you tap into. I mean, you look up or Keeping It Real, Faking the Funk, and all of the other like college student activities. you can, I think, probably like Eastern Michigan. At one point, I would say Eastern Michigan, Wayne State, and Michigan State have like some tracks where even though you're at a PWI, you can kind of live in a world where it's like, damn, you're not really interacting with nothing but black folks. More so, I think, than and this is no shade to the institutions, than like a Central or like a U of M.
Mm-hmm. You can. Again, the college and the program that I went through, the James Madison program, there were 100 students. I believe there were 6 that looked like me, which was fine. I don't have any challenges with that. In fact, I believe that we were challenged because of that sometimes. So, and it only adds to the experience, especially as you get out into, if you call it the real world outside of college, especially going into the legal field.
Yeah, I was going to say the American justice system can be like that as well.
It is like that. Even though there's more black and brown attorneys graduating and coming into the field every day, when I go to court, I know what I'm going to see on the other side, but we cannot fold. We have the same degree. So that means my credentials are just as good as yours, but that means nothing when we go into front of the judge.
As a good friend, one point client and everything, Todd Russell Perkins puts it, the law can be a strange bird, which you got to piece it together if you know Attorney Perkins to make it make sense, but also, and always honoring her uplifters so much, but even Judge Deborah Thomas would say, because it's even deeper than that, it's the whole system, especially when it comes to even who will be selected in the jury. And I've been raising this up more and more on these Detroit is Difference. Recently, the one with Jade Mathis that runs CREO and, her father, Judge Mathis. But Detroit, at one point in time, had Recorder's Court. Now that's inside 36th District. So it's not far-fetched for you to be in Wayne County. Mm-hmm. And you're going to look at a jury of your peers. And you be like, damn, these they
don't look like my peers.
Don't look nothing like my peers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's real. Because things like that definitely play out consistently throughout America. Mm-hmm. So when we think of like what Recorder's Court was and just Detroit having its own courthouse, it still has impacts. That's something that, rest in peace, my godmother, Joanne Watson, always uplifted, and certainly Deborah Thomas uplifted. But if you just even look at the roles of the judges that were in Recorder's Court, Judge Roberson, Portia will talk about her father, and just many others. And just sometimes it's just a cultural competency in understanding kind of what anything can be. Because if you got to just like go an extra step in understanding something, it could be just far-fetched. Like if they put me on a jury in, I don't know, in like the Appalachian Lakes or something, and they're talking about how they do fishing, and this is what we do when we really start, where we go out at 2 a.m, it'd be like, I don't know, man, that's kind of fishy, because I'm not connected to that culture.
Exactly.
Whereas, if you be like, yeah, man, we was hanging out because, it was after the fireworks, and then we was going to go up to the street races, and it's like, okay, you don't need to be at the street races, but, I done been before, and I know family that go, and it always ain't bad. Stuff that small could be the difference between, being locked up
and being dismissed, being free.
Or, as I always say, when you walk in court, it's going to cost you time and money. It costs you more time. It costs you more money.
You're absolutely right. And we can go back to whatever you want to, but that is a great segue to why this mission of mine is so important, because you are risking everything. You're gambling. You're rolling the dice every time you go into this court system, especially the criminal justice system. Of course, the legal system is not just about crime and punishment. There's, the reward and the protection of that the law provides. But specifically, when we're talking about the criminal justice system, we need to start educating and informing our youth and parents of ways to keep you out of it, because you can't guarantee, there's no guarantee what your jury is going to look like. There's no guarantee whether your judge is going to be in a good mood or not. You know, a lot of people don't realize when Meek Mills was receiving a lot of his violations, his judge was black.
Yeah.
And she had discretion. She could use discretion.
Yeah.
So that's why in some of my commentary, I'll say it's not always about race. You just have judges sometimes and lawyers that are part of a system that is not perfect. And that's why it is called the practice, because we're forever practicing to get it more perfect, but it'll never be a perfect system. And when we know these imperfections exist, why don't we start talking to our youth about controlling their emotions, responding differently to disrespect, or she looked at me the wrong way, especially when a violent reaction is going to lead you to court. And like you just said, court is going to cost you time and money.
At best.
At best.
At best, it's going to be that.
And then you're going to have to pay with your life. And that is unfortunate. And that is the message that kids aren't getting. And it's an education they're not getting, because they don't believe they need it until they have to retain an attorney and pay, $5,000 and then say, what was I supposed to do? Well, now it's too late because we're here.
Well, at times, it may cost way more than
I
$5.
I just put that out there.
But depending upon what you're facing and when you're facing it. Also, I always bring this up most times attorneys in here, and you've heard it before, but for real, like, what you see on TV ain't what's in a courtroom. I think that as an American citizen, you have the freedom to walk into any courtroom. You owe it to yourself just to sit in the back of a courtroom one day just to be like, oh, this is if you're really smart and you're facing something, definitely try to see what's going on in that courtroom before that judge, because just the functionality of it, how things go, it is nothing like television. It's not, those moments. I love watching, the movies and stuff. I was going to watch The Time to Kill pretty soon, because I met the guy that, it's so weird, the guy that Samuel Jackson's character actually lives in Detroit right now. And I was like, damn, I need to watch the guy that Samuel Jackson's character is based off of in the Time to Kill movie is now a Detroit resident. So I was like, damn, I got to go back and watch that. I ain't seen it. But if anybody knows it, if you my age, it's that scene where he'd be like, yeah, I hope he died, deserved to burn in hell. And then, Matthew McConaughey plays this thing out like, imagine that white girl is a black girl. Like, court, that's good.
Theater.
Yeah, but real life, it
doesn't work.
It's nothing.
That's an admission while on the stand, which a jury, again, that does not look like you, would say, oh, case closed. We're going to deliberate and he's gone. And, can I bring that up? Because I just saw the video yesterday of Carmelo Anthony where he was in handcuffs and he said, I'm not alleged, I did it. And you would think, even watching movies, when the police officers say you have a right to remain silent, that lesson, at a minimum, our people know not to make a statement to the police. But obviously he did not know that. Either he got the wrong education on when he can or shouldn't or should talk to the police, or somebody told him the wrong definition of self-defense. Because for him to make that type of statement, he had to believe there was going to be a different outcome for him, because he didn't even know enough to keep his mouth closed, to remain silent.
So I guess we can touch on that point, but I just really want to look more so from something more of a general sense.
Yeah, let's do that.
Other information from the good brother, Attorney Perkins, as he said. Some of his best clients are people that know better, but don't do better. So there are so many cases, and you'd be surprised the types of people, and I'm not necessarily saying through him, but just across the board, meaning some of these people are attorneys themselves. Some of them are judges. Some of them are political officials. Some of them are celebrity figures. Some of them are people prominent in possibly the philanthropic environment or wherever, just across the board, that know better but ain't doing better. So that's one. The second thing is from graduating from Northwestern. I graduated in 2001. So the culture of my Northwestern is a lot different, I think, than sometimes the historic culture of Northwestern. So it definitely puts me in a space and place, like I say, and hopefully I ain't never walking them places, but a lot of the places of incarceration around here, I'm gonna know more people than most people would expect you think I would know. But in that over time, I've also learned that, that is the number one thing that always plays out. People think that they can talk their way out of something. And like, it's explicitly right there within your Miranda rights. But too many people I know feel like they can talk their way out of something. It'd be like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, liquor was in the car, but I ain't had that much liquor. So I told them that, you know what I'm saying? This bottle was open, but it was in the back seat. It's like, why are you trying to act like personal attorney? You put yourself in the worst position, period, because everything you're saying can be used against you. And furthermore than be used against you, now, when you do hire your attorney, let's say somebody has a heart. Let's say that Attorney Jackson is like, you know what? I got a heart for you. And now they look at all of these things you said. Now this goes into an account of everything that happens. The best thing you can always do is we gonna keep this one clean. You can shut up when dealing with it because you have that right, and that right to remain silent now provides, I'm not necessarily saying that lawyers will make up anything or whatever, but now we can just deal with the facts that are being presented by the arresting officers against your silence. If it's the arresting officers versus everything you said, and oftentimes that officer is going to walk on that stand and they're going to walk in and they're going to be wearing their uniform and they're going to see the brass on it and they're already looking like, well, clearly this person is a more model citizen in community, because I say jury may not be of your peers. It ain't good. But if this officer is walking up there with the brass and everything happening and they just running their mouth, what's going to happen to you? If you don't say nothing, you're going to end up in a worse situation. People like you really end up messed up. You can say something. If you get all of that recorded and all that information and you ain't say nothing, now you got something that the benevolent, as I say in this scenario, Attorney Jackson can work with. So I'm putting that out there because it's too many people I know. And some of them, it's not even locked up. Actually, it usually leads to that. It's people I know that have been on extended probations from talking too much. And now they're in tough situations about everything else. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I got my gun, but shut up. And there's too many people that can't even move, and let alone, we need to ban the box. Shout out to the work of Dr. Yusuf Shakur and so many others. But yeah, you get a felony on your record, it's going to be hard to navigate everywhere. And depending upon the type of felony, and it can be just something just as simple as somebody got in your vehicle, they had a pistol on them, they didn't let you know, and you be like, but that's his pistol.
Yeah.
Guess what's going to happen in the laws of this country, possibly.
That, I'm so happy you brought up that scenario, because that is in the book. But there's one thing I want to mention is that you said that's what Attorney Jackson is for. That's what Attorney Perkins is for. He's for hire to help people who talk too much. I am here to do the education that comes.
To avoid all of that.
Yes.
I was just saying, if you
No,
had
I know. I just want because that's
I
where
got you.
the parenting side of this mission is. Like I said, this is the intersection of my life. I've been a mother for 19 years and an attorney for 20.
Okay.
And what I have found in dealing with young people and their parents is they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, and that is what is getting them into trouble. There are a lot of preventable stumbling blocks that our children can avoid, but they don't know. They don't understand the consequences. And what lawyer is going to say, hey, let me tell you, let me have this consultation, let me give you this information to help you avoid having to hire an attorney. I'm not trying to take money out of attorneys' pockets. I'm just trying to help the next generation avoid some preventable stumbling blocks, like what you just said. Don't let your friend get in the car with his or her gun, alcohol, illegal drugs, I can go on and on, because the consequences are going to fall on the driver and the owner of the vehicle, which 9 times out of 10, it's a parent or guardian or auntie, and they don't want their car impounded because you let little Johnny in your car with his gun.
God knows what he got on him.
or whatever he has on.
Who knows?
So, and it's not just that. It's, I tell kids it's everything. Who would have thought? Did you ever play Ding Dong Ditch as a child? Ring
you
and
mean
run?
like ringing the doorbell and running?
Yes.
Well, I think we would do more so like at family reunions, be at a hotel, you get, dared to do it.
Yes. So it's different in different cities. I learned this ring and run, I think that was in New Jersey. But in doing the research for this book that I wrote, you probably can't imagine how many of those incidents have resulted in death or serious injury to a young person because they rung the wrong doorbell, ding-dong the wrong doorbell, and that homeowner just wasn't having it that day. Mm-hmm. I'm not condoning the homeowner's reactions, but when we know we live in this time where tempers are high, you have to understand that homeowners have a right to quiet enjoyment of their property. So as parents, we need to tell our kids, like, listen, you can have fun, but your fun has limits. And the limits are when they start imposing on other people's rights. That's just like these teen takeovers. Yeah, we don't mind you all coming out and having a good time, but it's a problem when you start running across city parks and messing up structures and in and out of people's businesses. That's when your fun starts to impose on other people's rights.
We definitely we definitely will talk a lot more about that because I remember you messaged me on that and just it's other media stuff I want to unpack for that. But I want to get back just in stories. So D.C. was the travels first. Did you know do you have family in D.C. before you went? What era you went? Like, when do you get to D.C.? What was the feel like when you get that way?
D.C., 2005, right after I graduated law school, I went to work for a law firm called Crowell and Mooring.
Okay.
It's a reason why I said it that way. This law firm, 900 attorneys. It overlooked the White House at that time. 900 attorneys. I think at that time, 5 of them looked like me. And, what an amazing time. That's me being sarcastic. Okay. But it really built me. Gave me the strong bones and thick skin that I have today. We did, what didn't I do? I worked on government SEC, Security Exchange Commission, litigation, alternative dispute resolution between corporations. This all big words to say mergers. And I remember one merger we worked on for almost 2 years. AT&T was taking over a smaller telecommunications company. And all we do is make sure that everything they want to do is compliant with what the government wants. So I did a lot of government affairs work.
And even when we think about that time, 2005, this is pre-2008 crash. And even when we think about like what's happening with mergers and acquisitions and what that is through litigation, a lot certainly can be explored, especially. And it's still so many more acts that have been implemented about the ways that some of these corporations are conducting business. A lot of that precedent, meaning like the laws, like it never existed, really begins to be written around the internet around that time too. Because up to that point, internet was like what it was. Is it a public good? Is it a business? Where does it stand? How does it stand? A lot of this stuff usually exhaustively has lawyers and, on both sides kind of arguing what will exist in the framework of Washington, D.C., as we're looking at like laws being lobbied, it can be real like this. What Michigan may want and what Ohio may want could be completely different.
You're absolutely right. And that's during that time, just thinking back to the companies that we worked with that don't exist anymore because, like you said, they merged under a larger parent company.
These devices
I was about to say
are
that,
a classic example.
When I'm talking about AT&T, I'm like, man, we did a lot of mergers. And I don't even think cell phones were a conversation, but they weren't. I wasn't a part of that conversation. It was still a little bit before that time. Yeah. Now, I do remember, that was another one. I worked for on a pharmaceutical case where the main drug at that time, whereas now is like weight loss, but back then it was AIDS prevention. or addressing AIDS sicknesses, and the pharmaceutical companies buying up all types of, what can I say, protected drugs from other companies and merging those in, and really just trying to find what is the best response, whether it was politically, how to market it. DC at that time, large litigation and mergers were what was dominant, and those larger law firms.
And it's also, this stuff matters because it establishes precedent. So when we think about like mergers, acquisitions, and when people support and not support it, I think a lot of people definitely know like the story of Standard Oil and the Rockefellers having this monopoly, and it's like, you got to break it up.
Yeah.
But one of the largest monopolies, I'm 43, so it's like one of the largest monopolies in my lifetime was the Bell Company. So at one point in time, the Bell Company was bail everywhere. And then the government stepped in and said, look, this is a monopoly too. And now things kind of look like they're shifting back into that, like in the same sense of what does exist with these cell phone companies. So this is the other part of it. It's like these corporations end up in certain ways kind of becoming these conglomerates first, and then it just transitions to like, yep, this is just a monopoly again.
Yeah.
And now they have too much influence in any of these markets to dictate everything that will end up happening.
Yeah, so the government, their primary role is to make sure that, like you said, monopolies are not creating such or wiping out the small business owners, if you will. That's the ultimate goal. Yeah. Does it always happen that way? No, because once these companies do become these conglomerates, well, then those are the folks that are lobbying our government, who is supposed to be ensuring what? A fair market. I'm not suggesting it doesn't happen, but that is the goal. Whereas now, like you said, it's definitely a shift that is, I'm going to say, more pro-monopoly, pro-conglomerate. But at the same time, you get a lot of small venture capitalists creating companies, and then that's exactly what they want. They want to be bought out by the larger companies.
I would say the tech boom was
it's
filled
still
with that.
A fair market.
Yes.
You can get in. It's just get in and then get under the right company.
I mean, so much just in my work, like I definitely think a lot of things that are happening with and it's a lot of energy-based stuff. It's heavy in that. Yeah. But, we look at like here, and they say like it's a needed, necessary, natural monopoly in like a DTE or a consumer's energy because of the safety of what could happen. It still doesn't change that, that every 3 months they're going to raise your rates. You know what I'm saying? But it's those types of arguments and hence these precedents, because you may be able to use a case that was happening then to say like, hey, we see an example that this is wrong. I mean, this is really key, I think, when we study as much as and certainly applaud so much of the legal work of the NAACP. And I think Thurgood Marshall is uplifted so much, but the work of Attorney Charles Houston to build the precedent to establish the case to make Brown versus Board of Education. Yeah. Like it has to be established. Like clearly it's already happening over here, so it can't happen. And then when that happens, it's like, well, we got to rule with this. Now, all of that to be said, definitely there's some things happening in the Supreme Court currently that are surprising. And then sometimes the more you just look at the history of America, it's like, I mean, how surprising is it? So DC, you're there, 2005. What's the feel like just culturally? You're in another chocolate city. What was did you end up loving go-go music and mambo sauce and all of that? What was the DC like?
100%. If you've ever been to Ben's Chili Bowl and the place next door, DC is my second home.
Okay, so you still travel?
Oh, I'll be there Sunday.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
All right.
Always in DC. Love it. It's so interesting, though, because DC 05, whereas you have Howard's campus, you got Popeye's chicken, you have Jamaican bowl, cocoa bread. I forget the name. It was a hip-hop clothing store that everybody went to. Jay-Z visit, Puff Daddy, everybody. All of that's gone now, okay? Gentrification is real, okay? I go home and I'm like, okay, I got it. The streets are the same, but the buildings are not. The housing is not. The restaurants are not. I mean, it depends on what side you want to be on, whether it has improved the community, improved the area or not. It's beautiful. I love it. Folks are walking dogs and jogging, but whether or not you can call the whole D.C. a chocolate city anymore, the mayor's still black. But it's still my city. I love it. But I do notice the change, which if people don't understand what I'm talking about, it's kind of like the same argument they make about downtown and midtown. That's D.C. around Howard University now. So
it definitely feels different. Certainly, I know a lot of people I know in D.C. have been priced out. And a lot of people just have moved because how high rent is at this point in time. And when you talk about mayor, I mean, it's a heated election right now for mayor going on in D.C. Right now. I was actually reading 2 articles about that, like, as I woke up this morning. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And, it's been different waves depending upon, like, where things stand, especially when we think about who's in the White House, and even really this whole algae reflective pool, because the relationship that city government in DC has with federal government, it's a lot to be made up. And I mean, even like that crazy January 6th stuff, you know what I'm saying? And like that becomes heavy, but D.C. is definitely one of those places that you love, and you decide to come back to the D. Love it. When you come back to the D, what were the people in D.C. at that point in time saying when you was like, I'm going back to the crib?
They're like, you're from... Well, first, whenever I would tell people I'm from Detroit, they'd be like, you're from Detroit? Like, you made it out?
Hilarious.
I was like,
you stop watching RoboCop.
I'm like, every city has its areas, Unfortunately, Detroit just had really bad coverage at that time.
I mean, that's really what Detroit is different is about. And I always say this, the streets is hiring, but they hiring everywhere. If you choose to go down a path and to get into that, guess what? It's a whole lot of that you can find. But if you choose to go another path, you'll be cool.
And that was not the marketing or the message across the nation as it related to Detroit. It was more, like I said, they're shocked you made it out or made it to the airport through Detroit.
I mean, it's so weird because D.C., that's the same thing. Because I think, you got cities with black leadership and people in black political positions. And as I'm going to say, if you choose to go down that street, there's a whole lot of that, but you could go this way and you ain't even dealing with it. I think it's toughest when you try to go between both.
Yeah.
So pick a lane.
And, like you said, there's one way you can go or the other, but the other group, those that were running businesses, small businesses, and doing things positive in their neighborhood, that's not what was being told in the national media, okay? Because it definitely didn't reach D.C. unless it was through advocates like myself. But I'm happy that narrative has changed. Now when I go home, to my second home, people are always like, yeah, I got to come there and I want to visit. And I'm like, yeah, you should. You definitely should. But I've always been an advocate for the city. You just got to know where to go.
A couple years back when the Lions lost to the Commanders, they was like, see? And every city is rough. I mean, if you look at what happened after the Knicks won, you'd be like, oh, my God, I'm never going to New York. Oh, yeah, all day. Them people,
those
New Yorkers, they was going in the Knicks when they won like 20 games a season.
Yeah. They were going crazy after game one. So, can only imagine what was going to happen after they won.
So you come back to the crib. What neighborhood you go to?
Right back to my family home in the aviation neighborhood.
All right. So you back on the block, as they say.
Yeah.
I love it. What was the feel coming back? At this point in time, you said daughter. How did your daughter respond? What was the, I know you got more family support. What was the feel?
Yeah. My daughter was a baby. I think she was 3. I don't recall.
Okay, so she only remembers the D.
That's all she remembers, and she knows that her Social Security number is associated to Virginia. So, the neighborhood. Remember, I didn't grow up there. Okay. So, but when I went back there, whoever our neighbors were back then, they were still our neighbors. The Bobbies were 2 doors down. Pam Henderson was 3 doors down. The neighborhood was the same. From what my siblings are like, no, this was it. So
as like Carter and Dexter was certainly like more of where I spent my time after school, because that's where my friends were. It's certainly one of those neighborhoods where families still exist that have been there for a long time. You know, it's certainly new people, kind of like my neighborhood. It's new people on the block and stuff, but it's enough people that have been there for generations.
Yeah.
Especially when you go in certain homes, they be like, "Oh, what you doing in Miss Deemer house?" You know what I'm saying? So you got to be, it's like, I knew your grandma. You know, now it's like, I knew your great grandma. You know what I'm saying? So.
And the neighborhood is still the same today. You know, since you brought up Todd Perkins, when I was campaigning with him last year, just going in that neighborhood, I'm like, oh, this is my neighbors. I'm knocking on the door like, hey, how you doing? And, you know, the park, everything is the same feeling. Neighbors outside planting, saying hi. I love that neighborhood. I do.
Yeah, it definitely is one of those where, the OGs is getting out in their gardens. It's a lot of porches. It's a lot of porches with flowers on them.
Yes.
I found one of them old pictures of this house, my grandma's crib, where I'm like, I got to bring that back maybe towards the end of this summer. But next summer, I'm going to really be on top of it because, it's one of those communities. And I definitely think that adding, if you're available to, adding those like aesthetics and that type of consideration also is like a deterrent towards welcoming other things you don't want in your crib. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. You show you care. Community interacts with you differently.
Yeah, and not just the community that remained there or is there, but when new people are coming to the neighborhood and they see how everybody else is, like you said, planting flowers and keeping up their yard, they come in and they do the same.
Yeah.
So, and that is, that is contagious when you keep up your community in your block.
It's like I will walk past this house before I throw away my wrapper nowhere,
or pick it up. Yeah,
it's real.
It is real.
It's psychological where it's like, I can't do that.
It is. And when we start to like psychologically adopt that frame of mind, like, you know what, this block is clean, I'm gonna make sure the next block is clean around my neighborhood. Or when you go to the park, pick up the trash. It's okay. It's your park. It's your neighborhood.
Definitely. So getting back, your experience from what you shared, very strong corporate law. You come back, do you still lean into that? And actually, this is the other thing about the Detroit is different. I think this is a very cliquish town, and you kind of only know about what you know about. But outside of the major manufacturing, auto manufacturers that have been here historically, that are mobility companies now, there's still a lot of corporate business that happens in Detroit, especially legally.
Definitely.
You just kind of got to know about it to know that that's what's going to happen. Like some of the law firms that exist here are internationally based law firms that are going all across the world and just like building blueprints and stuff like that. Like, here go a fun fact from some nerd stuff I was watching the other day. When post World War II, as the Soviet Union was making decisions on trying to industrialize their country, Albert Kahn goes to the Soviet Union to help them design what would be the makeups of how their warehousing would be. So things like that existed then still kind of carry over to today. So it's these interesting relationships that it go way back in Detroit, but you wouldn't think it because you think all this stuff is in New York or LA. So I just want to uplift that. You know what I'm saying? So coming back here, what branch of law are you getting into? What was the field?
Well, when I came back home, I don't even remember how this happened, but this is going to be fun for you.
Okay.
And you're going to have to help me with the years.
I got you.
But it was over 200 people that ran for city council. This is the class where Charles Pugh, Bert Deering Jr.,
Yeah,
Monica Conyers was
so
out.
That was the last at-large city council race.
Yes, that's the where race, everybody had to run at large.
That's the race that was the race that actually our current city council president, his first race, James Tate's first race.
How could I forget? Because I worked on his campaign. Yes, James, that was that close. Yes, it was over 200 people.
Yeah,
and so a friend of mine was like, you know what? You should just run for city council and see, not so much see if you win, but take advantage of the opportunities that getting in a campaign can provide. Meeting people, getting your name out there. You just got back, introduce yourself as a lawyer. Yeah. Because one thing I did not want to do when I came home was go back and work for a law firm.
Okay.
Oh, I was over it.
I got you.
Yep, I was over that culture.
I got you.
After maybe 7 years, I said, okay. The money was great. I had no complaints. It did help me get rid of debt and buy, homes.
There we go.
But, I knew I did not want to go back, but instead I wanted to use my skills and the lessons that I learned and work with business owners, small business owners, but profitable business owners, because you got to be able to pay your lawyer. And
you should be able to pay
you should be. But one of the first businessmen that gave me an opportunity was Don Barton, of course, before he passed. And that connection alone, I was able to shake more hands, meet more people, and say, hey, here's what I can do for your business, your company. And even then, from being profitable with those types of clients, was able to start working with startup businesses and providing that service to a lot of people, of course, sometimes that look like us, want to go into business, but don't realize that a budget for legal consultation in the beginning is very necessary.
Hey, as yes, definitely the criminal law goes, but boy, if it ever, it's going to cost you time and money.
Right.
If
you go into bad business partners, wrong structure, partnership agreements gone bad,
Civil law.
Yeah.
Civil law can lead to a criminal case with the way that they make you act.
Oh, well, yeah, that is very true. I had that happen, too.
Boy, you be like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
You be like, yeah, got that good contract. And they be like, yeah, I know we said net 30, but we probably going to be like net 90. And you be like, I am losing my shirt.
You know what? I'm jumping ahead to the pandemic time, but I look at a lot of the people that are now still being charged or have federal charges because of the PPO or PPP?
PPP loans.
Yeah, the PPP loans. And I said, what? Talking to an attorney to structure things a little bit different. I don't know the details of all their cases, but when I see that people are currently incarcerated or facing charges because of how they entered into these loans, how they obtained these loans, I'm like, see, should have called an attorney first before you got into trouble.
I think.
But people don't always think about that. I don't know why.
I definitely know. I mean, I probably uplifted her before, but let's uplift her now. She's working on some contracts for me now. Stephanie Hammonds has helped me a whole lot. And people always be like, why this contract so long? And I'll tell you one where it specifically helped me. Because, I work in media and things like this. And I ain't going to say the person's name, but I'll just give the whole scenario. I was one of the people that was contracting with me. We're on site with the client. My the person on my team had on the dress. My project manager's like, hey, you ain't wearing any underwear. And I was like, oh man, this is weird.
I'm really trying to see where this is going, but come on.
I was like, this is that's not a good strike. And then it's like, it's tough for we're interacting with people. So I was like, all right, I gotta, at this point, my project manager can't work with her. So project manager more important. We gotta execute everything. Gotta let it go. Right? Was like, all right, gotta let you go. Right? Immediately, just with the tone of that, I'm like, yo, she's probably gonna go right over to the unemployment office. I had all my paperwork tight. As the contractor, what was happening with with my corporation, it went through like all the rules of what needed to be in contracting, and it was cool because I was like that. Now, I at least know 5 other people where the same thing happened. It didn't go as well. Because if the litmus test is looked at and this person begins getting their unemployment insurance, you know, in your mind when you're getting it, you like, this from the state. No, it is from a business that's putting into the state. So if you never put into the state, not only are you going to deal with like paying what they're getting paid, but also astronomical fees. I've seen it happen so many times to the point where now, because I've shared this story in passing with people, they like, how did you do that? And I'm like, all right, well, you need to make sure that it has this. So thank you so much. That saved me tens of thousands.
Look at there. Look at there. When you know what to do before you engage in certain activities, you save yourself, you save time, you save money. The list goes on.
And here go the other thing, because her contracts are very litigious. But here go back to like you learn lessons in business. If people don't want to sign an agreement to do business with you, it's probably not necessarily gonna float well, period.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Now, that is a lesson that I think many business people learn
after
at least
fact.
5 times a year.
Yes, after the fact. Which, again, you would think that that's a lesson that you don't learn or shouldn't learn until you're older and going into business. But now currently, we have more young people that are entrepreneurs and influencers. And so knowing those types of business techniques and practices is so important, and it's in the book because we've seen that nationally play out where a young lady, I think she created some dance or something on social media, it went viral, but then another young lady did it and she was the one who got the credit for it because there's ways in which you can protect your intellectual property or your property, your content, your product, but they need to know that the law is not just here to punish you, it's here to protect you, it's here to protect your business and your value. But again, that is part of the education that they're not receiving.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, indemnity clauses, all types of things that I've seen and I've just learned over time, you know, because, you could be sitting around just having a conversation. You ain't even really sticking to something. You talking about something you doing. You signed this clause that said everything is owed to this person. And you end up in the worst of legal situations over something like, I didn't even, you know. And that's a tough position to be in. So you definitely not only need to, I think, have good counsel, but also you got to have counsel you trust. Because just because you have an attorney doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to possibly be the best at whatever is facing, whatever you facing. You know what I mean? You got to have a good relationship. I think good attorney can be very helpful in doing business.
And not, when you're saying good, I think a part of a good attorney is one that actually cares. A lot of times, of course, you're going to pay your attorney, so they're going to do their job. But I think you have to really look at the character, or at least try to ask for references. Like, does this person actually care for me as a client only or a person? Because the advocacy will be different and you will feel the difference. We're all, like I said, we all have the same licenses, various states. But the question is the person, the character of that attorney you're hiring, is it in line or aligned with what you're trying to achieve here? And that is not something that all attorneys possess, is that character. Like I said, we all took the test, but when it comes to character, that's not something you can study or learn or pass the bar for. It's how you were raised, where you come from, how you're connected, how you relate. And one of my mentors, my first mentor, that's what he taught me. He said, it's not whether or not you can tell a person what they need, but can you show a person that you actually care, and they'll trust you more and they will stick with you. And that's from an attorney who never did any type of marketing commercials. He definitely was way before social media and was very successful.
Well, I can say this as a person that has I've my services and like media and stuff. I've had attorney clients over time. Yeah, having that heart can be kind of tough. And I've also introduced people because, the number one thing, and you all wouldn't think this, but it's real, people will get in a room with their attorney, and they will lie to their attorney. And then the attorney will get in court or start the litigation or arbitrate or whatever the legal thing is, and they'll be finding out facts that the person didn't say. Sometimes that can turn that good attorney into somebody like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
out here looking
that
crazy.
Can happen. That can happen.
Most attorneys I don't say that probably happens like once a week, but also that's some of the realities. So I would say the good, have somebody that you gonna tell the truth to.
That's
and stop lying to yourself because you actually do. They're not gonna tell anybody. Tell them the truth. It will only help the situation immensely.
You're right.
The last person that need to be surprised is your attorney. I think that played out in like one of these more recent cases where, I was watching that documentary on Nature Boy that was on Hulu about the guy that had this, like they said, like he had this cult and, just due to the way he was talking to the attorney and all. He was like, I want to, this client was like, I want to fire my attorney right now. And then the judge is like, that's not how it works, sir. Like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
So with that being said, so a lot of small businesses, Lord knows, it's definitely a lot of people like kind of in the entrepreneurial realm. But now you get into writing this book. What was the catalyst for kind of being in the space, like branding yourself legally, Mom? You know what I'm saying? What was that? What was the scope?
About 2 years ago, my daughter was in the 11th grade. She too went to Southfield High and graduated. But she told me about a young lady who quit her job after she had been wrongfully touched, violated by her boss. But she didn't say those words. Of course, she was just telling the story like, oh, my boss keeps doing this and he keeps doing that and he keeps doing that. So I just quit. And my daughter was only telling me the story to say, because we talk about everything, that she like, what happened in your day to day? And I'm like, so what did the little girl do? Where is she? What's her name? And, how long ago did this happen? And that was such an eye-opening experience and conversation because I'm like, these kids don't know. They don't know that the law, one, is not just here to punish you, but you have rights. You can be protected. Just because just your boss doesn't give him the right to violate you or to do this to you. And they don't always know what level of protection, how to go about it. Of course, living with a lawyer, my daughter hears it all. Anything from them wanting to stage a walkout at school. I'm like, you have a right. First Amendment rights. That is protected. Whose parent is talking to them like that? Probably just me boring my child, but Hilarious. She has a world of knowledge that a lot of other kids don't get. And so connecting with the young lady and her mother, I did pursue that case and was able to show her that this is not right. You have rights. I don't care what company. This was a fast food company, one of the big three. Due to our settlement terms, I shall not reveal the location or the name, but I really connected with that young lady because a similar situation happened to me when I was 18. And I never felt that I was able to be vindicated from what happened. I just knew, I said, I'm going to go to law school and I'm never going to let this happen. Well, of course, not to me, but to anyone who I could help. And just when that story came about, and then another one from young kids getting into a car, I think the girl had alcohol, got into the young man's car. This was on prom night. Somebody let them use their, I think it was a Corvette. It was a fast car. So, of course, he's driving fast. They get pulled over. Prom night's over. So it was just like.
You don't say.
They don't know. And they don't know what they don't know. And as the old adage goes, when you know better, you can do better.
You should do better.
You should do better. Some will, and some will. I always tell people, I know I can't save them all, but if I can help a couple, a few, 100 make better choices, because now they have this information. They know that the law is here to protect them. They know they have rights as an employee, a student, even a child. You have rights. I don't want to say against your parents, but you have rights in your home, whether it's with parents or guardians or foster parents. But if they don't know, and if the only lesson we're teaching youth is how to encounter police, then they don't know that the law can also be used for them to weaponize them to fight for themselves in a way that does not lead them to prison. So that is, I have, like I said, a world of stories that I said, maybe if I just write it down, give kids and parents the legal advice that they need before their kids engage in certain acts, whether it's making out in a car. What are the consequences of that? There are consequences.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Nobody's done that before, but there are consequences.
Hey, I think a little bit more to making out that I know of from personal friends. It can get, yeah,
of course, I'm talking about for other people. But they need to know that there's consequences to their actions. You know, one of our favorite artists, Lauryn Hill, she says in her song, consequence is no coincidence. And that's what our kids don't. They just think things happen, and that's not the case. And
I think this is like Kari Fraser's critique. One of the worst things about our justice system is ignorance is not a defense.
No, it's not.
And also, like, things change from like state to state line. What's happening here versus what's happening there. I think the largest crystallization of this for so many people is what's happening with and damn, I'm hoping things go well, but it don't look good for the rapper All-Star JR from Detroit. That I don't know if anybody's like keeping up with this, but there's a hip hop artist from Detroit, moved to Houston. Houston, a lot of Detroiters in Houston, just bound that way, walking into a nightclub establishment. And this is the other thing that plays out, I think, with a lot of young people, even grown, but definitely young people nowadays too, is social media. And a lot of this stuff being posted and how things are played out. So All-Star JR is approached from some gentlemen that work with J. Prince Jr. All-Star JR's like ex-girlfriend and mother of his child now is dating J. Prince Jr. J. Prince Jr.'s friends see All-Star JR because he makes some social media posts about this that he doesn't like, and coming to attack him. Somehow their gun is, you know, they fumble their gun. He picks up the gun and he shoots these assailants. One of them it ends up being paralyzed. And this is all taking place in Texas. It's just like, you know, my thought process is like, okay, Texas, open carry state where things happen. All-Star JR leaves Houston, comes back to Detroit. One of the first things he does is he does the Ben 10 challenge. The guy's name is Ben 10 that's shot. And he has people, he gives away money to whoever does the best, acting as if they're getting shot, because all this stuff plays out on social media. You can win some money here for a couple of months. Now he's extradited back down to Texas. Everything about extradition in my mind, just how I look at the legal system, is like, this ain't gonna be good, because the amount of money, first off, the courts don't like spending money and not making at minimum, I'd say, 5 times as much as they spent back. So extradition from Michigan over to Texas, you're dealing with like different counties and even how laws go. You also have so much of this evidence playing out from like everything being on social media. I'm perplexed in so many ways about a lot of this whole thing, and it's not looking good.
Unfortunately, I don't have enough information about
that situation.
Or what happens.
Hey, and I don't think many of us do.
Yeah, to the social media aspect, and then we living in a very consequential time, but people not focusing on the consequences. A lot of the times we see the acts, what happens on social media. We never get the follow up of the consequences. What's going to happen once he gets extradited back to Texas? And unfortunately, to a lot of the generation now, that's the cool part. Oh, look what he did. He's fighting, especially when it comes to over a female. I tell my young football players and others that I've spoken to, there's too many women out here to be getting into trouble over one. That's my mama advice. Especially legal trouble over one. Go find another one.
I would say nations have gone to war. So
yeah. Woo, the power of women.
You got that right.
The power of women.
You got that right.
But yeah, it's really unfortunate that a lot of these things are, what can I say? When they come from celebrities, the children, the youth, and sometimes, like you said, adults, they worship it, they glorify it, and they don't see the consequences of it.
And also, like the social media, it almost becomes like it's a TV show. So you feel like more caught up. I remember the other case where it was just like a group of kids in Alabama that all like get their guns from like family members and stuff, and a couple of them had felonies, but they like staged this Instagram, and it was like they played out what happened in like the video game, and then it switched from the video game to real life of everybody like posing the guns and everything, and what they dealt with connected to that, because this is the other part. People are watching, this like it's TV, like, oh, what's gonna happen next, and what's going,
And again, they see that part of it on Instagram, but then they don't see the crime report. I actually just read that today, that there was 2 young men who posted, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Are they called switches? The gun? I don't even know.
You mean the fake guns?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they're called? Yeah. So they posted that.
Or what do they call it? It is the what is that? Man, I know. It's like they graft the gun from the damn it. It's bothering me, but yes.
So their social media posts has now led to them being having criminal charges.
Yes.
So you can post it if you want to, which I can't understand for the life of me why we're posting evidence. But again, what they don't know, they don't know. And then they don't look at the consequences thereof. Your posts are evidence. They create a chain. Prosecutors will use them against you. Well, before it gets to the prosecutors, the police, the detectives will use it against you to build a case.
Yes.
And it'll go in front of the judge. And we can't then say, oh my God, it was the jury that did not look like us. No, we need to start talking to our kids about what steps you need to take to avoid getting in front of that jury of not looking like your peers. We need to change that statement, because the jury,
wholeheartedly agree.
They don't look like our peers.
Yes.
They're not your peers.
Definitely, if you know you're doing something that is against the law, going live, I think, should be something that you don't do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's start there. Second, as you say, like, I mean, even when they say, like, can lyrics be admissible? It's whole police departments that follow it. Like, now I think in the constructive lens of it, and shout out to Force Detroit, Zoe. Man, I love the Zoe. He gonna be coming here soon. But how they even monitor so much of what's happening in social media to help derail things, because that's the other part of, as they say, the cyberbullying. Yes, definitely different than like somebody jumping you after school, but how long it can last, and also how fast things can escalate. And similar to that whole TV thing, now you're feeling like, I got to respond because this person did anything. And what can be admissible, how is admissible, all these things connect. And even one of the more, I believe people kind of know this, but like, people be like, big brother, know where you at. This device right here has like imaging that as long as you carry this, it knows exactly where you're at. So sometimes just that information alone can, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you online and you like, somebody like, I told you I ain't no punk. And you be like, I'm coming over there to kill you now. So if it starts looking as if you're going in that direction, it's going to be a lot tougher to explain. Like, no, I like the Coney Island on the east side more than here on the west side. And then they're going to look at all of your data and records, because this device, you'll be surprised how much stuff is kept on this device and the access that our police departments have, and also other, especially federal authorities have, of what's in here. You thinking you deleting stuff? It ain't really that much deleted.
No, because deleting it just takes it off your phone. It doesn't kill the web, the footprint that is already created. So, and I know that this young generation, they should understand that more than we do.
You think, but nah.
But they don't.
Yes.
And that, again, I can't go back enough to saying the miseducation and the lack of education, because, again, we only look at legal information or consultation after you've done something wrong. But I'm trying to shift that narrative to say, what if?
I got you.
What if I tell you that there's a big 6 foot, 100-foot dark hole if you go that way? If I give you that information ahead of time, will you redirect your path? Some will. Some will go right
like,
to
if
the
I go
hole.
live on it, people going
right, and they're going to fall. Listen, and as a mother, I know I can't save them all. I got some nephews and stuff that I'm just like, oh my God, do we have the same DNA?
Hilarious.
But I'm here to talk to those that want to listen and want the information without the retainer.
I got you. So who has kind of connected to the book so far? What has it been like?
It's believe it or not, it's only been 60 days.
That's beautiful.
And it's been amazing.
Okay.
Just last week we did a community event before the fireworks. Thank you to Sheriff Washington who came out to talk to youth to say, hey, there is a way to avoid trouble. Not just this weekend, but in your life, on teaching them how to think about the consequences and to know the consequences and actually talk to a lawyer who's connecting to you. So that was this past weekend. Before that, I was just in Chicago. I was able to speak with, I think it was over 300 youth and youth counselors during the Rainbow Push Convention. Okay. This was actually the first convention since his passing. So there was a lot of honoring the late Jesse Jackson, and it really was a very humbling experience. Of course, to be able to have met him would have been amazing, but to see the youth, including his son is not a youth, but the next generation continuing his mission, it is very important. And before that, I worked with the Midnight Golf Group. Okay. They brought together the community again, was able to speak with that youth group. In 2 weeks, I'll be speaking with Damien's group. He works for Councilman Benson, and he has a youth coalition. So this summer, that has been my goal, is to talk to youth, whether it's at churches, youth organizations, pulling them together. I'm going to Washington, as I just mentioned. I'll be speaking at a church there, and then a youth group on Monday. And then the goal, of course, this fall is to get into the schools. This is, I don't like to say were you an 80s baby? Yeah, you're an 80s baby.
82.
So you remember how the DARE program came in with the music and T-shirts?
I remember the Blue Pigs. There was a group of a group of Detroit rappers, Detroit police officers that were rap.
I'm not doing
the Blue Pigs.
I want to come.
Hey, that was hilarious.
It was hilarious, but if you look at the statistics, they show that it was not very effective.
Hey, you'd be surprised. Actually, I mean, with stuff like that, if you can stop 1 or 2,
then you've won.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's my goal. Coming to the kids, completely relating and meeting them where they are. Social media. I want to go through social media just like my book does and say, this is what you see, but here are the consequences. Now let's all make different decisions, because again, there are some preventable stumbling blocks that can save our children's future.
Yeah. I mean, even like when you talk about songs, because hip hop, I'm deep in that. A lot of these songs, I think, become gateways. Some are like tougher than more of like, okay, this is a different way. I certainly think, it's tough because addiction is present in my family. And I actually think, as I uplift so much about America has a history with violence, but it also has a history with addiction, period. But during my era, the way it was looked at, but like, I remember that song, like, as you say, DARE, this is your brain on drugs. That kind of stood out because it would be like an egg, but also like Your Mama's on That Crack Rock was a song that would come on. And I remember it, and it'd be like, yo,
this is there, but okay.
I'm like, this is not a good song, but that song was like one of them things where it's like, Dana Dane had a song called Chester. It's like Chester, child molester, like these things. What was it? Salt and Pepper had Let's Talk About Sex.
Yeah.
Like these things stand out because I'm a kid and this is being presented to me, and it's like, I mean, even in, you know what I'm saying? It's like, before I go up in a girl, I got to grab my prophylactic. And it's like, what the hell was a prophylactic? So now it's like, okay, Snoop had me in the dictionary. So it's like, oh, okay, This is what this is. Now,
that's what that music does. Yeah. It helped you to connect
something
where you were.
Yeah, stop the violence. It didn't
come to you with some cheesy, rapper and Blue Pigs, which I'm saying maybe for that time it worked.
Blue Pigs, some of the Blue Pigs
we
were happy.
We were happy then.
Then again, like any anything where I wasn't in class, you know. It was
right. But now we got to continue on the path that you were just on, where you're saying Snoop said this, and then let's talk about we got to meet kids where they are, and that's on social media. And if that's where they're going to kind of talk to each other and influence, then that is also what I do through the book and with the book, is say, hey, we got this right off of social media. We got this right off of, forgive me, I think it was Sexy Red's lyrics, and why, hey, I said her song may be catchy, but here are the consequences if you do this. Listen, but that's the reality.
I remember.
I got to use their words to help them make better decisions.
I remember, and shout out to them, Wayne County Aquatic Center, one of the clients that we had, and one year when they were gonna do, they do the out all night that with the police department, and so it welcomes and that's basically the Chandler Park Water Park. So it's so many kids that come because it's free. You come, local police give a lot of food. It's cool. It's really cool. And that water, actually, the water slide over there they have 2 water slides. It's really cool if you thinking that like, yo, I want you to go to a water park, but I gotta go all the way to. No, it's one in the neighborhood. It's clean. It's cool. And often if you go early enough, ain't nobody in there. It's almost like you got a water park to yourself. So there you go. Check out Wayne County Aquatic Center. But the year where the #1 song was Mask Off, and the general manager at the park was like, all right, well, we can't have any profanity because all the kids going to be young. And I'm like, it's not going to be profanity, but I mean, this whole song is like Percocet, Molly Percocet. It's like, this is a song about opioids. So like, even though we're not going to hear the profanity, this is what it's about. Then I remember the guy from the radio station was like, man, that's just a hit song. So like, definitely, I think over like the past, whenever, I even remember whenever Trinidad James had that song, the Papa Molly, I'm Sweating, certainly it's been more of a wave, like that Lil Wayne generation, into like reintroducing the pill form of opioids back into culture, where it has become a lot more prevalent, just period. I don't think just necessarily in our communities, but just like a lot of communities, and it gets very dangerous. So it's not, because it's not like the mamas on the crack rock stories, and especially when we think about fentanyl and the way that people are dying from it, and this is like a higher level of a lot of it, it's certainly a lot of consciousness that needs to be mindful about some of those messages, because it's
because in our current music, they're glorifying it. Yeah. Whereas, some of the songs you mentioned before, you would always be ashamed to be like, my mama's on crack rock.
It. I didn't like they glorified the selling of it, but it definitely was like, don't be on it. Yeah, so it was a way differently. Of course they glorified the
selling of it.
Yeah, we don't want to glorify that either, because that also can lead to that. And then also from being in these communities, oftentimes the person that sells transitions into a person that uses, like from what I've seen in life, you know what I'm saying? So like that relationship and the hand in hand, but those messages do have deep impacts, self-destruction, like I say, we all in the same gang. A lot of these things kind of change and reframe what we're looking at, because now you're being presented things and it's like, oh, this is what I need to be thinking about. And also with that, so people, schools, I definitely think I can give some introductions to it. What do you see like the grander vision with schools as far as like getting these books out? Do you see this being like something, because I guess it's kind of for the parents and the child, but like, what do you see step 2 with this being?
It is for the parents and the child. And I'm so happy you say that, because this is an opportunity for both sides, both groups, to benefit from sharing the same information. Parents can become legal counsel to their kids to make sure before they walk out, here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to be telling your friends. But then from the student perspective, I want them then to become teen influencers. So with the book, you display what you're learning, what you're reading in the book on social media, and through our corporate partners, you get virtual rewards, gift certificates. I've had such an amazing response from businesses in the community, but also national businesses at Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Visa, and more, working with companies that are willing to say, let's pay our kids, because incentivized learning is a thing. It's happening. I believe someone told me and I don't want to mention the wrong school, but one of the DPS schools, they pay their students to come to school. That's for attendance incentives. But if that's what we need to do to incentivize our kids to start thinking about the consequences of their actions before they act, to help them avoid making preventable mistakes, then that's what I want to do. So, and I did not want to introduce it to the schools as a curriculum, too much red tape, but it does connect and align with a lot of the Michigan standards. But most importantly, it meets kids where they are. If they're on social media, then I want to see you on social media telling your friend, hey, don't do that because A, B, C, D can happen. If you do this, then here are the consequences. And when we do that and incentivize them, we are making teens influence other teens in a more positive way because they're already on social media. So the book is just a catalyst for the social media movement and lesson and us not steering away. I know teachers and schools are like, no phones in school. Fine. But when they get out of school, they're going to be on their phone. So let's continue a positive message and let's continue influencing teens right where they are.
Okay. I'm with it. So with that being said, if a person's interested, how do they connect? How do they get the book?
Thank you. First, legally.mom. LEGALLY.mom. That is my website. My social medias are legallymom_ on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So I need my daughter here. She knows all of these things. But Legally Mom, not only am I just on there, every day I am looking at different things that are going on with teens across the country and analyzing it and giving you advice. I post advice every day just about different things that are happening. I think we just did one about being bullied and how your future self would really want you to speak up. That is something that, I think even the most popular of student can connect to being bullied in some way. And it's something that I know we talk about, but we don't always realize the impact. Cyberbullying as well, not just physical, but cyberbullying as well. Kids internalize these things on social media. As an adult, when I make comments on social media, the trolls come, but I have ultimate and complete control over my response. But I know these young people, and that there's a whole lot in the book about cyberbullying, how to handle it, who to contact. But the message to young people and their parents is, when we have this information, then you have an option to make a better decision. But without it, kids are engaging in activities that are detrimental to their future.
It's just like I said, the thing I don't like the most, ignorance is not a defense.
It's not.
And even when we look at like the teen takeover concept, like I do believe, boy, it was a lot of things that I don't think were teenage and child things that certainly I would witness and kind of connected to throughout my time in high school. I think the difference is the advent of the social media. And it's not just the teen takeovers. It's almost like anything. I don't like the Chud the Builder dude that's just walking up calling black people the N-word. I think the tough thing about this being my teachings and my my academics are in media. I also am very, very cognizant of like whatever's being presented. And the tough thing about it is it's going to have, I guess they say like the copycat of it. And the algorithms can present something once and twice and, maybe let's say even 100 times. It's going to get to that 101, 103, and now people are doing two things. People are doing it themselves, or they see something close to it, and they're going to like brand it, like like the to me the goofiness of the wave of people in grocery stores licking ice cream and putting it back on the shelf. Like these things that I know look silly. It's like, who would do that? Knowing I know so much about these platforms and the way you're receiving these messages, I know it's some intentionality in how that message is being presented to you. So that is what makes it tough. And I don't even just want to say young people, even older people. When you talk about the Carmelo Anthony case, I think it's the child that lost his life is Mathis. I think it's Matt. What is it? Mather, right? The child that lost his life. Whoever he is, the father of that guy. When I saw that trending on my social media, I was like, okay, being that this is trending on my social media, it is absolutely no way on earth he is saying something that I think I would agree with. So sometimes we have to be like a little cognizant of even what's happening and how we're going to respond to something, because I know he's not going to say, look, I am very saddened that my son lost his life, but I also it's very unfortunate that another child is going to be facing incarceration, which looks like right now definitely more than the life he's lived. I know that because that ain't the comment on social media that will start trending. The comment on social media that will trend are usually going to be people having reactions to this. And the tough thing about it too, especially now, because the way that I think the way that commercials would want to line up on like the TV show everybody watched, like a Martin in the 90s and when I was a kid. Right now they're lining up in social media. So whatever can capture your attention, and usually the best way to capture your engaged attention is to bring you in and make you angry. So that is the other part with teen takeovers even. So like if you start watching one, almost because I said it 4 times, I know the minute that I pick up this phone, I'm going to see 6 different teen takeover videos. That's the minute I respond to one, I've just opened up to seeing 25. So I'm very cognizant of a lot of this stuff, similar to the whole Kia Boy wave, and what exists there, or like, a couple years ago on the Lodge with it, like all of these things can be like 1 or 2 acts, but just due to like how media can represent it, it can be everything. And that's even interacting and how things go. So I ain't gonna say the brother, and shout out to the young brother, but I'm at a comedy show comedy show earlier this week. And the brother had an okay set on stage, but and I thought this was like a good hook. He was like, man, I just broke up with my girlfriend and I want to show her that I made it. So I want all y'all to act crazy so she could be jealous, right? So he was like, I'm about to get on my phone and I'm going to do this. So he did it, and surprisingly, like everybody picked up their phone. People put the lighter up and he was like, go crazy. So like if you're looking at this in his social media, you'll be thinking, damn, he killing it. Yeah. And I ain't saying he didn't have a good show, but that was not the natural response. All of this stuff on social media, I look at as all of this is manufactured and put in front of us to look real, especially when we look at something like teen takeover. So it's worse when like a person sees this stuff that is artificial and now moves into making it real.
Yeah, and that's what they continue to do, is make it real. And there's a large group, I believe, of the teens that are there that are just, like you said, living in the moment. Like, oh, I got to be a part of this, without, again, understanding the severity of the consequences. Now, I understand the Detroit response was a lot different than some of the other responses, from case in point, from my second home city, the Attorney General, where she says, no, clearly, you're going to get 6 months or $5,000. To me, and when you're a teen, was it enough for your mom to just say you're going to get in trouble, or was it until she made it clear what was going to happen? And I believe that the message of being held accountable needs to be clearer. And I do believe that there needs to be examples set and then put out there. It's not enough for these kids to just know we're going to come and arrest you. No. We need to let these kids know what happens after you get arrested, what happens to your parents, what happens to their jobs, their bank accounts, your record. I do wonder, what are the numbers? Last night, hundreds of young folks, they said, were dozens. I'm sorry, let me strike that. Dozens were arrested. Mm-hmm. How many parents came to pick their children up today? How many let them sit there? How does this practice work?
See, this is the thing, I think, when it comes to the catalyst of how it was introduced to me in the teen takeover. And I mean, as I have it on, go Tigers. Opening day. I worked at Comerica Park the very first year it opened. And sports culture in Detroit has a overwhelming amount of public intoxication, especially when it comes to like opening day. The amount of stuff that I saw just working there, not just on public opening day, and as we talk about not a jury of my peers, it looks like what the jury of my peers could look like. Urinating on just public outside, throwing up, like defecating, all this type of stuff, fights, like it. From that was really what bothered me, because I'm like, boy, oh boy, if you really want to start arresting people around opening day, you're going to pick these 15-year-olds when you got some people that's definitely going to go up 75, that I'm sure you could get a DUI, and talk about like when you really know the consequences of a DUI. Damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that one beer could cost you $25,000 easily. And I definitely think like from a Lions, Tigers and Pistons game, police officers could just sit at the top of like any of them Essex going up 75 and just almost pull over everybody and be like, hey, we can lock them up. But that's not the action being taken. So that was more of why I was angry about it, because I'm like, opening day culture historically is full of public drunkenness, let alone, I mean, like right now it's to a point where it's real. There are verbal assaults that do happen during that, and it's just a part of the culture. So now you have a city that knows it's young people that want to do some things, but we're not going to create something for these young people to do. And they may not necessarily do what was completely created for them, but I think we can be a little bit more intentional about having this space, especially when I think about how many tax abatements and a lot of tax money and tax captures and special preferential treatments for these sports teams that exist in our city to exist. Y'all got to put something together for the kids. That's my thought process. So that is my catalyst when it was introduced to me, because I was like, opening day of all things?
Well, let me provide just, I guess, a different perspective on opening day culture, if that's what we're calling it, in the sports culture.
Yeah.
Yes, defecating, urinating in public drunkenness, that's a part of what we expect from opening day and other sports events.
Yes.
Right? But where I see the distinct difference is, yes, those are maybe ticketable offenses, but we don't see large groups of people running in businesses and fighting each other in big, large numbers, and what can I say, running and creating kind of almost like a riot size distraction or disturbance in areas. The difference also, if we want to talk about the economy, those folks had to buy that liquor from a restaurant. They had to buy that food that they're throwing up. They bought those sports tickets. So if we're going to make an argument on what's the difference between the teens just being downtown, and I'm not talking about all the teens. We're clearly talking about the ones that are intentional about being disruptive and not following the law. The ones that bring guns, we can almost be certain that those are not the same ones that are going to go and play midnight golf, regardless. I'm not midnight golf, midnight basketball, regardless of how many community centers we keep open. So it's an economic argument that can be made for the differential treatment between the sports fans that come downtown and create a ruckus on 1 or 2 days, opening day and maybe the next, versus the weekly team takeovers that are running up in businesses, parading through parks and public spaces, making it difficult for the economy to continue to run and to thrive when it does. You don't want to go downtown. And this is not a race thing. I've had a lot of people look like me. They're like, I don't want to go downtown.
I hear that, but my thing, even in the economic debate, is that these stadiums have been given tax monies from the city of Detroit to exist. So, like, I look at it like, I mean, I don't think most people know that the Little Caesars Arena is owned by the city of Detroit. So I don't see it like, this ain't like, I guess Cowboy Stadium. If you guys ever go to Dallas, Jerry Jones paid for all of that himself. But I look at all this stuff as it's public because they didn't put up their money. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of stuff that's captured. Like, I mean, the Downtown Development Fund, the Downtown Development Authority, like it's tax captured. Like that has to be spent. And I can say this, statute of limitations. But Lord knows I was not above 21 when I was working the beer stand. And boy, oh boy, if I'd have had this back then, I could have definitely ran a fights at Comerica Park hashtag. Like the fights in stadiums is happening often. Like, yeah. I mean, I would say that during time, and I guess you could look at it like, well, if you pay to get in the stadium and you get into a fight with another person, then technically you paid for it. But yes, it would, at least the year I was there, especially the it's weird. It's like the further down you go, the higher the probability, the higher price of the ticket, the higher probability of the fight happening will happen. Mm-hmm. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't, and I guess that is, and this is still me, and back to like media lens, and I definitely see things through the lens of race, but I think it's even bigger than race. It's more so like even the consideration, because some of the stuff that I've seen over the years connected to opening day, and it's almost like blind eye is paid.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm not gonna discount the benefits of a public and private entities joining in this solution together. Mm-hmm. From the, like you said, LCA and others joining in and say, what can we do to provide more opportunities? Yeah. But I think it's very important to be very clear that not all of those kids are disruptors or down there for the wrong reason, but there are a number that are, and that is where we need to focus, have different approaches to this matter, because there are going to be certain children, again, that are not going to go to the community centers. I don't care what activity LCA puts on. They're not going to go for those reasons. They're there to cause trouble and to put it on social media. So does there need to be more opportunities? Of course. But if we even look to when we were teens, there's way more to do in the city of Detroit, I believe, for teens now than there was back when we were younger. Or we just handled it different, because I was on Belle Isle a lot and I never saw groups of people, running and just being disruptive and fighting. I'm not saying fights didn't happen, but as much as I was on Belle Isle, I can probably count on my one hand disruptive behavior. And if it was concentrated to whoever had a problem.
It's
7 Mile. I mean, come on now.
It's definitely been some tough interpersonal conflicts that have been everywhere, that I included, that have come out about. I think also, like, some of this is because I did go to Northwestern and I was clearly one of the nerd kids, but this is like real, like, it's so weird because it's like I'm National Honor Society. Like, I'm taking these AP classes. I got like I had like a 4.5 at one point in time at Northwestern. But just due to me rapping, like, one of my closest friends, Kurt, is, he our principal was like one of the first people in Detroit with a PT Cruiser, and the guys that I associated with, the crime of choice that they had. This is another statute of limitations. Hold on one sec. Yeah, give me. Because my next guest is here, but I want to get this point out. Okay. But he stole the principal's car. Joy Road, like, it was like intentional. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and like literally, like, because it's like, oh, he knew and I don't like him, I'm gonna do it, and it was, and like, because I was this kid that had like better grades, I had obviously like somewhat of a relationship with the principal, because he'd be like, yo, you need to. So he's talking about this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, like, literally, it is a probability where, depending upon if we was going to the studio or whatever, like, I could have been in vicinity or in that vehicle or anything. Like, I don't think it's like, I guess I don't separate one from the other as much, just from like my journey in high school, and even the amount of sometimes even knowing what's something illegal, but you also know, like, you know, what consequences they may face, what consequences they don't face, what else is going on. Like, I think that young people kind of are young people. And I've also seen some of those same young people that, Lord knows, would be doing some of the craziest stuff, walk in some classrooms with certain teachers and they will behave differently. I think all based on the relationship. I think a lot just dealt with the empathy in which a student could feel. Because at that time, our principal, like, one of the things I think he would always say, because he had a son that was like our age, and he would even say, he was like, well, you know, I want y'all that focus to get focused, but the rest of y'all, I mean, that's why my son don't go here. So I think it was like a dissonance that happened there. Now, that should not necessarily lead to a person having their vehicle stolen, but it's other layers that I've witnessed over time where it's like sometimes that the distance between like a person doing some things that are extremely like, why would you do that? That's chaotic as hell, versus a person not. And the respectability politics that sometimes the people I know, like deepest in the street culture, have been shocking over time of what I witnessed.
No, you know what? And I think what we both agree, the intersection of what you're saying and I'm saying in terms of the teen takeovers and teen influence in period, is we're going to start with, let's try to save them all. Yeah. The ones that are on the wrong path, let's see if we can redirect them. Those that are on the right path, let's see if we can keep them there. That is definitely the goal. But, and I don't want to say but, that is the goal. That is the mission. Because even with speaking with some folks from the county, they're like, you need to go to the detention center, the juvenile centers, and let's talk to them. Because even though they're already seeing this side of the law, let's see if we can prevent them from coming back. I am for that goal, that mission. Let's try to save them all. The ones that take the guns to the ones that are just there for the Instagram moment. Let's try. Unfortunately, that is not what I found visiting school districts from Plano, Texas, Maryland, even back to Detroit. They're like, you know, maybe you should visit, you know, the kids that are college ready, that are focused on their future. And I'm like, well, we can't leave the other ones behind. So that is the struggle, I think, that educators and our educational system has to deal with, dependent on the area. No, not dependent on the area. The social problems and the economic disparities that exist, and how do we still create solutions that connect with youth and help them to really invest in their future and focus on their future, regardless to their socioeconomic class and the challenges that they bring. So again, I'm starting from a place of everybody needs a lawyer, and especially the youth. I am focusing on youth and their parents, making sure that they have this legal advice and this education. And if they have the information, then my goal, my prayer is that they use it to help them make better decisions.
I think, and I agree with you. I just think certain people, you know, they say like, you know, certain vessels for different messages of God. Like, I think certain people connect with people differently just based on like how they identify.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I mean, and sometimes it's just presence. I've seen, shout out to Yusef. I mean, Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur from this, you know, one of an originating member of Zone 8, but like still in that neighborhood. His presence welcomes like a different energy with certain people. So certain people, I just know I can't get to him. Yeah. But he could. Like, I think it's like a collective, especially when we think of like young people, and it's that same like wavelength. Like, so like right now, they probably be like, man, I ain't trying to hear nothing you saying. But maybe 6 years from now, after, you know, they connect with him and they get here, and now they may feel like that about him. I think it's like different ways where different messages connect. And then as those messages connect, hopefully you get to it to just get to a space where no matter what direction you're moving, you're avoiding as many harms and also progressing along a pace that can be provide more fruitful experiences and opportunities for yourself and your family.
Yeah. And, you know, I believe that is one of the gifts that God has given me. And that is my willingness and my heart to connect with people from all walks of life. From what I've experienced in my legal practice, it started as corporate, but I opened my heart to wearing it on my sleeve when somebody needed a lawyer, a good one, and couldn't afford it. So I've dealt with so many different situations and people from different walks of life. And that is why this mission is so important for me right now, because it does connect with who I am spiritually, emotionally, is a person that just connects with people. Not for a cost, not for a price, just people. And the group that I am focusing on is our young people. I feel like I'm late in the game when it comes to investing in youth, because I have my child. She left me, but that's fine. She's in Norfolk, Virginia. So now she's like saying, okay, mommy, go and be this mom and this legal mom and hopefully impact some lives.
I love it. I love it. Shout out to the little homies you gave that. Now I got to hit you with the classic Detroit is different questions. Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Oh, gosh, year I got it. White Thunderbird, 2-door, blue interior. I got it. So it had to be 96 because I was 16.
Ah, I love it.
Yes.
Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Oh, great question. Probably to pick up my homegirls.
There we go.
And then Northland.
There we go. Ah, good old Northland.
Every Friday.
Good old Northland. Good old Northland.
And Fairlane every once in a while.
Hey, Northland in 96 was amazing. Amazing.
Yes.
97, 98,
yes.
99.
Woo.
It's like
those are the days.
Yes.
You can go. Oh my God, the mall used to be that place, right?
Okay. Max Green's hiring women as fine as ever to have you buy an overpriced T-shirt as you try to flirt with her. Then the guy come over and
one of the
you
pickup lines was, "What you want to eat?" I don't know, but I'll eat.
No, then the guy ring you up and he be like, "Yo, she on break." Hating.
Got all my guest outfits from was it Hudson's or Marshall's?
Oh man, good old Guess. That's definitely back in the day.
Yes.
Get the up and down.
Yes, like, same color jacket, jeans.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Okay.
You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
You mean now?
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you. It's your playlist. You the DJ.
Oh boy, this is gonna end of the. This is gonna be so bad. Okay. All right. Tupac, Hit 'Em Up.
Okay.
And then Meek Mill's.
Which one? Dreams and Nightmares?
Dreams and Nightmares.
Okay, you're going to have people going.
I know you go crazy before you leave the club.
Okay.
That's bad.
And last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
It would be my grandpa, Benjamin Hardy.
There we go. Holding things down.
Yes, he actually marched down Woodward with Dr. King.
I'm with it.
And he remembered that day because he said he had bought a new pair of shoes.
I'm with it.
And he said that was the worst thing he could ever have done.
I was going to say, man, some new hard bottoms. That's a long walk.
And he said those shoes hurt so bad.
I know.
But that was the price they paid for the freedoms we experienced today.
I know. He was like, man, I hurt my feet for you, Dr. King.
Grandpa.
I know. They didn't have, I don't know, what's the comfortable shoes nowadays? I don't know. They didn't have Hokas.
Hokas?
Yeah, no.
Just got
back
some
in the day.
Hoka make you feel like, okay, I've arrived. I'm there. I'm at that age.
Yes. I care more about my comfortability than fashion.
Than fashion. Well.
Exactly. There we go. There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I so enjoyed this moment.
All day. Trade is different. Peace.